Welcome to the Get Back, music work talk in Central Texas, Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. Okay, welcome back. This is the Get Back for July 30th, 2021. And joining me is Mark again. Welcome, Mark. I'm Aaron. Gosh, we always start by calling attention to the links we have in the bottom, which are sort of our best places to get info on unemployment, on the Musicians Union, and other COVID recovery things for the music industry. And then we always move back right on to beverages. I'm doing a big thermos of coffee, like usual. How about you, Mark? Oh, I'm not hearing you. Oh, I'm still not hearing you. Oh, man. Where'd it go? Hit that mute. Again.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
I got the monogrammed Kaz cooler here with green tea in it.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, man. The merchandising.
Ain't that pretty slick?
How many of those did you have printed up? How many thousand?
Oh, this was given to me by, it'd be a smart merchandising thing, but yeah.
You know,
it was a gift.
Our brother Ernie has got those caps, that he's been.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a niche in there.
I'm telling you. Yeah. Well, you should be the guy, man. You get that organized. Sell that stuff. Make you a little 10%.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Look out! Man. Well, gosh, we've got all kinds of stuff on the docket. But I mean, if you wouldn't mind, Mark, would you mind describing why we haven't seen you in a few weeks? We missed you.
Well, yeah. Well, I spent about a month of my life dealing with COVID. I caught the virus right at the end of June and tested positive twice, and basically, fought COVID at home for about 3.5 weeks, almost a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. And are you? I mean, do you know where you got it from? Is any certainty at all of that, or? I know you were working a lot of different places, so.
Yeah, I'm really not certain. I kind of hesitate to point a finger at any one place because there were several places that I went to that I might have caught it from.
As we do,
Yeah. And, I think that, if I have a message at the end of all of this, it's that, when you go to bars and restaurants and laundromats and, wherever people are congregating for a while, your chances of being exposed to unvaccinated people who might have the virus, or even now we hear this morning, vaccinated people who might have the virus, both of which categories of people can give you the virus, your chances are not so sweet if you're going to be in places like that often. So, I don't know that I really need to mention the place that I thought I got it from, but I feel like there's one of 10 or 15 or 20 places that I could have been in, some of them music venues, some of them just other places, restaurants, whatever, where I, despite being vaccinated, could have caught the virus. Mm-hmm. And the place that I believe that I did catch the virus, there were several other people who were infected on that weekend where I was playing. So, the chances are pretty good that they got it. We all got it from some source or several sources. I don't know if I got the Delta variant or not, but my guess would be I did. Neither my doctor nor the Austin public health person that I talked at length to seemed to care very much whether I had the test that would reveal whether it was the Delta variant or not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why they felt that way, but they didn't recommend that I get a third test, which would have been the longer overnight test that would have showed which variant I had. They didn't seem to care, so I didn't.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the important thing is that you're feeling better now.
Yeah. I'm pretty much back to my normal 75%.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you were, one of the musicians that was kind of one of the canaries in the coal mine. I mean, everybody was really like getting back out there and feeling really, free to take the mask off and be around and everything. And then, we heard about that. I was like, wow.
Yeah. Well, there were several other people in town, I mean, amongst our musician community that got sick. And so, I think, once again, I hesitate to say my lesson learned from all of this, because I think one of my lessons learned is that there's really not a lot to be learned from all of this. And because the virus is so squirrely and strange, and different people react in different ways, and some people can get vaccinated. I mean, I heard about some friends of mine in Dallas who got COVID unvaccinated and then got vaccinated and then got COVID again.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just so many variables here in this picture, and I think most of the scientists and talking heads and media people are derelict if they're telling you what they think is the truth or the facts of the matter, because I don't think there are any, or not any, but the situation is a lot more confused and confounded and vague and squirrely and weird than most of us kind of thought it was going to be when we got our vaccines. That seemed to be like a watershed moment, and you get your vaccine and you're protected, and that notion of protection, the word protected, I think has been way, way, way overused by a lot of the media and talking heads and scientists and stuff, and you really don't know what that word protection means. In my case, I think it probably kept me out of the hospital, which was fantastic. I have another musician friend who got infected about exactly the same time as I did, and he was unvaccinated, and he's still in the hospital on a respirator in a coma.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So, there's trouble out there, and like I say, if my lesson behind all of this is that, especially for older people, but really now just for anybody, if you're heading out to go hear music and it's not outside, bring your mask, bring some sanitizing stuff and do your job, because the chances, the risk factor is not what you thought it was 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. It's much higher.
Yeah, it's very different now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My goodness. Well said, and thank you for the perspective on that. And it's interesting how this little broadcast that we've been doing. I mean, we kind of documented like when we all got the vaccines at different times, and we,
Yeah,
our various
sure.
enthusiasms about it and everything. And
Yeah.
my goodness, you know.
Well, I mean, my enthusiasm for the vaccine hasn't changed, and if
Yes.
if I had the choice today, of course I would still get it.
It's important to keep that point.
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're maybe at a sort of a confused place with this whole pandemic, where maybe the only thing that we know that at least partially works is the vaccine.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, even masking is somewhat scientifically questionable. You know, if you
Well,
look at the data from certain angles, you know, it's not conclusive about how effective masking is. So, you know, and once again, I don't want to, you know, appear to be, you know, a negative person about any of this stuff, but you know, all I really have to go by at this point is my personal experience,
Mhm.
you know, which was I got COVID. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
and then, you know, you hear somebody like Clapton, you know, Eric Clapton saying, well, I don't want to play venues that are, what was his term, discriminating, I think against
you used
people
that
who,
word, yeah.
yeah, which is a curious term, you know, in this whole sort of civil rights world. But anyway, you know, I'm certainly not agreeing with that. But on the other hand, you know, personally, I can understand where he's coming from, because he had a very terrible personal experience with a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when you have an experience like that, or the experience of getting COVID, changes your whole picture of where the world is at.
It's much more personal at that
Yeah.
point, I'm sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention with the, you know, the masking, of course, it has to be combined with the other things, with the hand washing, the distancing, and even just reducing the time that you're in the room.
Yeah.
You know, that's an important thing too. I mean, you know, talking about music venues, I mean, most of the places that we have music now have an outdoor component as well. You can go in and out.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to be there, do that. Take advantage of going outside between the sets or something, you know. And I think that's a good thing. You know, that happened as a result of the smoking ban years ago, right? I mean, almost all places have some kind of smoking outdoor area. So yeah, man. Or, you know, I mean, a lot of places are doing outdoor gigs that never did them before, and that's a good thing too. But we don't always have that option, that luxury when we're working musicians, you know, to choose which mode we want, indoors or outdoors. But
Right.
oh goodness, man. Well, I'm so glad you're back, brother. And
Yeah. Thank you.
you look good. You sound good.
Yeah. I'm pretty much over it now, I hope, you know, and no signs of what they call long COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other than me being a little stupider, which I just think comes with age.
Don't tell them nothing. Don't tell them nothing.
Yeah, right.
How's the playing going? I mean, not to give away too much, but you are a wind instrument player, as I'm sure most of our viewers know.
Yeah, well, you know, fortunately, I didn't suffer a lot of respiratory consequences. I mean, I had a terrible cough. I had a lot of congestion in my head, but my lungs never got filled up like some people, you know. In other words, I never got that sort of pneumonia kind of terrifying situation. And so, you know, hey.
Well, look who it is. Hey, how you doing, brother?
I made it.
Right.
Yeah, wonderful to see you.
Good to see you.
Man.
Yeah. So anyway, I was able to play, you know, almost every day, either at home or, you know, I didn't do any gigs for 2 weeks after I got sick. But then when I started going back, I started playing again, and I was fine.
Mm-hmm. All right. Man. Yeah, well.
So how long were you sick?
I'm sorry?
How long were you sick?
Almost a month. I was sick
Really?
about, yeah. I was really sick for 2 weeks. I mean, not hospitalized, but sick at home. And then I had another week of being pretty sick. And then the last week, it was weird because I'd sort of have a good day and then I'd have a bad day. And then I'd have a good day and then I'd have a bad day. And, you know, it was a pain in the ass because I kept thinking, oh, yeah, good. I'm finally shut of this. And then the next morning I'd wake up feeling crappy. So, it was really kind of weird. I mean, there wasn't any time when I thought, oh wow, I need to go to the hospital. But
Right.
I never got sick to that point. And when I did get a call from a very wonderful person at Austin Public Health, a nurse, I'm presuming, that I talked to for quite a while, and described everything that I was going to, and she said I had a mild to moderate case of COVID.
Mild to moderate.
Yeah. And I mean, when she said that, I was stunned, and I said, well, I mean, what does somebody go through that has a more severe case? And she said, well, they're in the hospital. So.
Wow.
So,
for the viewers that don't know, this is our brother Floyd. Thanks for joining us, Floyd.
thank you.
Yeah.
So when did you test negative finally?
I have not.
Oh, you haven't?
No, and the reason is because, well, there's two reasons. The first reason is that, according to the data, you can test positive for weeks after you've had COVID. And so any test that you get after, like if I went in and got a test now and I tested positive, it wouldn't mean anything. Or if I tested negative, it wouldn't mean anything. Really, the critical factor is the quarantine, which both my doctor and Austin Public Health recommended to me that I quarantine for at least 10 days.
But you're done quarantine.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been done for over 2 weeks with quarantine. Yeah. And I didn't go out and play any gigs or anything until I was done with quarantine. In fact, I waited 13 days instead of 10 days. Because some people say 14 days. Most people say 10 to 14. So, you got to make up your mind. So.
Yeah, I think they reduced it to 10, 6 or 7 months ago or something, I think, right? Like officially, I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, there are more people, more musicians that we know that are getting it or exposed to it.
Yeah.
Testing positive, whatever. Seaboy seems to be a hot spot.
No comment.
Yeah, but also just just other people that we know of.
Yeah. We were just talking about how most of the music venues, as a result of the smoking ban that happened, how many years ago now, have some kind of outdoor component somewhere, so you have a place you can go, to reduce the time you're exposed, hopefully. But it's definitely a workplace hazard for us, man.
One other thing I would add, just in the hopes of helping people, really, if you get sick, on the early side of finding out that you're getting sick or testing positive, go and see if you can check out a monoclonal antibody treatment locally. Curiously enough, this was recommended to me. I guess it was 4 days after I tested positive, I got a call from Austin Public Health. And like I said, the nurse was wonderful. I talked to her for a long time. She recommended that I go find the monoclonal antibody treatment, but which your doctor has to recommend for you. Well, so I spent a whole afternoon trying to find the monoclonal antibody treatment here in Austin, and I struck out. I could not find it, and my doctor could not find it, which was kind of weird.
Is that what they refer to, like as an infusion? Is that what they're talking about, that infusion thing?
Yep, and Trump had it, Regeneron, when he was ill with COVID. And a number of other people got it. And there was a city-sponsored clinic here in Austin, Texas, that offered that treatment, and that's gone. And I couldn't find out from anybody why it was gone, except that several people said, well, it went away because the number of COVID cases was dropping dramatically, and they didn't have any business. So I thought, okay. However, our good friend Derek O'Brien has discovered that there are a couple of places now in Central Texas that will offer the monoclonal antibody. See, I told you I'm getting stupid. The monoclonal antibody treatment. Victory Clinic here in Austin, and then there's a clinic in Round Rock called FHS.
Well, is it, I mean, we're Medicare, but is it expensive?
I don't know, because I never was able to get to it. You know, I never found it. My doctor struck out.
Yeah.
I called the Austin public health nurse back. She couldn't find a place for it. And then, so I don't know if the places that are offering it now have just started offering it in the last week or two, which may very well be. I don't think it's really expensive. You have to get it within, I think, a week or 10 days, or you know, you have to get it fairly early on in your onset of illness, or otherwise you're wasting your money on it. But I'm just throwing this out there because, you know, some doctors may not even know about this, and you know, I would hate it if somebody that we know in our musician community got sick and didn't know about this. So,
right.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, I suppose the sooner you start looking for it, yeah, the better it is. But yeah.
Well, and you know, find out a few places and put it on your, you know, refrigerator magnet. You know,
maybe. Wow. Yeah. Huh. Man. Well, yeah. So, geez, should we move on into the other stuff we had on the docket? Brother Floyd, did you have something you wanted to discuss in particular today?
No, I mean, I just wanted to note that I was a sub last night with Casper at the Continental. The crowd was way down, and because of this, I'm sure, and yeah, because of the Delta variant and the concern over that. And Chris Marsh was playing bass and said, "Where's Greg Abbott when you need him?" You know. but you know, I've seen the effects, and then I know of. Now another musician who's had a lot of gigs knocked out from getting it, and I just wonder what resources are available to freelance, you know, generally freelance musicians who are knocked out by this and need some help, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, I earlier on in the pandemic, I think it was stated that if a union musician got COVID, you would qualify for the Lester Petrillo Fund for Disabled Musicians, some aid from that. But I don't know if that's still ongoing. But it's definitely something that can be applied for sure. That was said early on that qualified you in that sense. And then of course there's the you know, for over 55, there's the home grants. There's those just got some more money last week. You know, that you've heard about those housing opportunities for musicians and employers.
Yeah.
Our sister Marcia has had some involvement with that group.
Yeah.
That's cool. She's been, you know, in the sense that she's been helping out with that group, not benefiting from it. She's been helping with it. Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, you know, and of course HAM, you know, the Health Alliance.
Right. Yeah,
know,
I just saw there's one person that I know and who lost 4 gigs. You know, $500 a gig.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like everything's back at work, and the next thing you know, they're like kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was talking about the health implications, but you're talking about the economic
someone who's
damage.
Going to get over it, but has to quarantine, and because I think that's kind of the new phase we're seeing. People who were like, okay, I made it through, gigs are coming back, and then they might get sick and have to cancel a string of gigs or something, you know.
Or
I'm starting to observe that a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely, and it reminds me of you know, last year when the first lockdown happened. Remember that there were a few groups or charities that were like asking for like gig contracts that had gotten canceled that they might, you know, pay us for or try to reimburse us for or something. I don't know how that. Do you know of anybody that benefited from something like that? I didn't myself, but.
So I'm not clear exactly what that is.
Right? Talking about like last March and April, well, of 2020, there were a couple of organizations that were they were asking for either contracts or some sort of booking proof of gigs that had been canceled due to COVID.
Oh.
And they were trying to get the musicians compensated somehow for them.
Oh no, I never even I didn't know about
yeah,
that.
I mean there were these kind of big lists of people who were doing that, and I never really heard that it was massively effective or not, but yeah,
No,
it
the
is
thing
terrifying.
about gig contracts is funny because I have a gig on the books in Horseshoe Bay in September that's contracted, and it was for a year ago, and then of course COVID knocked it out. They rebooked it, and then this is classic. Somebody kind of affiliated with them said to me, "Hey, we're having a problem with that date. Can you change the date?" And I said, "This contract kind of works both ways with people involved. It's a contract. If I'm obligated to it, maybe you are too. Kind of like saying, hey, can you make dinner at 8 instead of 7? Oh, yeah." And it was presented very casually like that, which was, when I think of contracts, I always think we're the ones that are tied to the contract. And
we're the ones that have to be accommodating.
Yeah,
right. We're always the ones that.
Hey, that day's not really working for us right now. There was a storm on a roof, and of course it was very convoluted. It was that they had to move somebody else over to where and when. I'm supposed to play, right? But it was something. We had a storm. I'm not following this.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a different subject. But no, I didn't know about that, and I'm just maybe I'm just a little jumpy from the last year, but I see are so many musicians who just made it through and suffered some psychological consequences.
Yeah.
When I see that they could be knocked down again, it concerns me.
Yeah, and I think that's well said, because the economic side of it is certainly distressing and bad for musicians. But I mean, when I was knocked down for a month, it threw me for a loop again. I mean, especially at the beginning of it, I thought, God, I just came out of a year and a half of pandemic lockdown, and now I'm back there again, right back in it again, Right. And it was terrible, man. It was like bad. I mean, I didn't, feel like I had to go to the hospital or anything like that, but it was pretty distressing and unnerving. And, there's a fear factor here for sure amongst all of us. That's, it's not, I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. Every time you book something, every time you have something on the calendar, whether you put it in the calendar or not, there's a big question mark next to it.
Yeah, and there's still people that have PTSD and can't get out and play.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be paralyzing, as far as that.
Yeah. So anyway, no, I mean, it just this week has felt like a little like a mini version of last March, where every day is, remember last March, difference between March 9th and March 15th was huge.
Yeah. Well, the NBA shut down. I mean, that was a big deal.
Yeah, everything was. You say, oh, which day in March? Oh, right. And then this is kind of a little mini version of that, where each day, something you did 3 days ago, you wouldn't do.
Right. Well, it's a mini version of that, but also there's nowhere near the help now that there was then for all of us.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's very true, especially with the unemployment being canceled last month. Now, almost
that's the biggest one.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. At least for most of our gig workers.
So I'm gonna kind of change the light on now. Has the union been able to really let everybody know? Everyone used to say, like, the pension will never be there. I already know it won't be there. That's a big change with the bill that was passed, that the pension is completely solid for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
And if you've been able to get that word out to the people who we want to bring in, who we want to keep in because of that pension. It used to be a cynical thing of everyone. We all know that.
Yeah, but now we know it's going to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
It is.
Yeah, I just wonder if we're doing, all of us to get that word out, because that is.
Well, that's something I think you're absolutely right, man. We could probably talk about that every week on this program and let people. Yeah, it's up to all of us to let people know. A lot of us used to assume, that pension was not an attractive issue for young people, but the young people now are seeing their parents' generation, run out of their 401ks.
Yeah, right.
And they're starting to become a lot more interested in pensions than maybe I was when I was a kid. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all the benefit payments for the next 30 years are guaranteed now, which means the fund itself is going to grow, and we're going to be back in a situation like we were in the beginning of the 90s, where the pension was incredible. It was huge.
It's big, and nobody really talks about the pension over. Besides, there was under-delivered, but it really over. They were promising 50 cents, a year based on over 50 cents a year based on $1 of pension contribution, and then it was brought back down. But it really wasn't overwhelming. As much as other stuff. But anyway, I just think it's important for people to know. Yes, the pension is good. That is a huge, huge deal, and we should hopefully that'll help people be part of it.
Yeah, it is already. Yeah, we've got a lot of young folks that are like working on it in their 20s now, which I didn't work on it in my 20s. I don't know if you guys did, but I wish I had. But that's right. That's still working on it, brother. Heck yeah. Yeah. So. Right on.
Yeah.
Man. Well, gosh, this has been fantastic. We've got a few other little topics that I plan to bring up, but they'll most of them will keep till next week. But the main one that won't keep is our brother Willie Nelson was in the news because he's playing at the march tomorrow for voting rights, right? And I think the name of that march is the Moral March for voting rights, and yeah, it's like a march that started from Georgetown, and it's kind of like in the style of the Selma March, and it started in Georgetown on Wednesday, and they've marched like 27 miles, or they're marching right now, I guess, and each morning they're marching, several more miles, like 10 miles or something, and they're going to wind up at the Capitol tomorrow morning, and yeah, our brother Willie's going to play, and there's Beto O'Rourke is doing a speech, and a bunch of other people have been doing a speech with the leadership of that coalition, and it's all about the For the People Act, right? And the National For the People Act, which is going to sort of protect against all these crazy voting restriction bills, which the most devastating of which is in Texas, right here.
Yeah, I was out in California, and Texas and Florida are interchangeable in people's minds.
Oh, in California.
Say I'm in Texas, they go, "Oh, that's like Florida," or oh, or someone said, "Oh, you live in Florida, right?" And I said, "No, Texas." "Oh, you moved?" I said, "No, I've been living in Texas all day." They can't even see the difference.
Oh man!
So it's kind of embarrassing,
Yeah.
I mean, they know Austin, and they know about Austin, but it's just like, oh God, they think of Florida when they think of us.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, we were kind of, what was it last week? It was Texas, Missouri, and Florida were like the highest infection rates, I think. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The only reason I was paying attention to that was because I was traveling. I was driving down from the Midwest, and I went through Missouri, and then I was going to Texas. Like, oh man, hitting all the spots.
You look in the mirror. That's what I do all the time. I look in the mirror and say, "What's wrong with this picture?"
Yes. Oh my goodness, man.
Now, what am I doing here? What am I doing? Going from Missouri to Texas? I know. Well, on the grid, people say, "Oh, wow, what you went through was harrowing." I have cousins in Albany, New York. I said, "So you have 8-foot snow drifts and 10 below zero. We got below freezing 2 days."
Yeah.
Our grid went down.
Yeah.
And we're tough, proud, independent Texans. We
Yeah.
fell apart. I said, that's I appreciate your sympathy, but
Yeah.
we don't deserve it.
Yeah. In a lot of ways. Oh man. Yeah, the word reliability is in that's one of those letters in ERCOT, isn't it? Yeah.
Pretty good, huh?
Yep. Yep. Oh man.
Pretty good.
Oh geez. All right. Well, are there any other thoughts before we sign off for this week, fellas?
Nope. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, yeah. I believe next week we're gonna continue our series on the PRO Act, which is the People's Right, or not the People's Right, the Protecting the Right to Organize Act. It gets mixed up with the For the People Act, of course, a lot. But then we're hoping to get one of our members is going to do a presentation on the American Music Fairness Act, which is what's going to get us paid for radio play, and I know that's going to affect you guys.
Yeah.
What Dionne Warwick was on Facebook talking about that the other day, and that affects her too, of course. So
That would be nice.
yeah.
And isn't Tina Sinatra? Hasn't she always been? She's been involved with it, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So
Wouldn't that be something?
That's a big change that needs to happen because lots of other countries pay musicians for radio play all the time. And so anyway, well, we're going to talk about that probably next week. And but if you, the viewer, if you are in the music business, we want to encourage you to not give up. And there's help out there, including from all of us working together in solidarity. Join the union, use a contract, wear your mask. We can get through this. There are ways to work that are safe. If you're not ready to work yet, there is help out there, and we can find it working together. And I just mainly don't give up. So thank you so much for joining us, Brother Floyd and Brother Mark.
Thank you.
And
Ciao.
This is Aaron. We'll see y'all next week. Take care.